It was an amazing day, Megs. It was absolutely amazing. Um,
Well,
I started out my day, I was so nervous, but it turned in to be one of the most glorious days I've ever had.
I kind of just want to sit back and listen. Like, I want to hear about like when you walked up to the prison, how it was getting in the doors. Was it, was it all that stuff? Like, it just, I don't even know where. I don't want to even ask you a question about how it was inside because I want to know everything.
I got there pretty early and couldn't find a parking spot. So I parked around back where we do for the vigil. And by the time I reached the front of the jail, actually, I met Lily and Dwight around back, and we walked around front together. Met David and Randy up front. Went inside. It was a really confusing with the whole locker thing and what we could take in with us and what we couldn't. So after you have to use 75 cents for the lockers, we ended up every time you shut the locker, you had to pay another 75 cents to get into it. It was a mess. So we spent a lot of money on the lockers today. They love seeing us there. Let's see, we met Kelly Wild and Mel Holly there, along with Randy and David and myself. Lillian Dwight and Justin Johnson was also there. Um, I hope I'm not missing anybody. And we basically stood in the lobby for a while till they were ready for us. And then the guard came out. He called one person up at a time, checked everybody's ID, and made sure we were on the list to be able to visit the prisoner that we were there for. And four at a time, they took us to the back. They did all the ladies first. Soon as we went in, we had to take our shoes off, run those through a belt. Then we had to go into another room with each individual, go into another room with a female guard. She did a pat down, checked our shoe or checked our socks. We actually had to shake out our bras to make sure nothing was in our bras. And then we went out of that room. We had to go through like a TSA scanner. Um, then when we got out of that, they patted us down again. They used a wand over us, patted us down again, put us into a elevator, went up a floor, and we just came out into this big room where there were a bunch of chairs set up. All the chairs down the center were back to back, and that's where the prisoners sat. All the visitors sat on the outside rows. Uh, they all of those were separated probably about 6 or 8 feet apart. If there were two people there seeing the same prisoner, they obviously got to sit together. We sat there for a few minutes. We could see the prisoners that we were getting ready to visit. They were over to the side in a cell, and they were all watching us come in and waving
Right.
at us. Well, of course, you know, we've only seen these men in pictures. So no one really knew who anyone was. But we sat there. Time came for him to visit. We had to sit down in our chairs until they came out, and they gave us instructions. We were allowed to hug them. Um, they could only, for a brief hug, they said. And obviously, they had to break up a couple of those hugs because we just didn't want to let them go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I sat down with Bart Shively. What an honor. Um, it was an open room. Our chairs were at least 3 to 4 feet apart. Everyone was wearing masks. It was very, very hard to hear what the person we were visiting was saying because there was just so much conversation in the room. And I was really apprehensive um, because I'd never visited anyone in prison before. And although, I wanted to look around the room, I wanted to look at all of their faces, but, you know, as I sat there and Bart and I started talking, I was there for him, and I wanted to give him my 110% undivided attention. And I had to really focus on him because there was so much talk in the room, and sometimes it was hard to hear him. We talked a lot. We were allowed to be there for an hour. It should have been 2 hours because everybody there was from out of town, and any out of state visitors get a 2 hour visitation. Well, the guard that checked us in said that he tried and tried to get that approved and clarified, and the marshal absolutely would not allow it to happen. So we only got an hour with them. As I sat there and talked to Bart, like I said, we cried, we laughed. He told
Mm.
me a lot about what he was going through, how he got there, what he did that day. Um, he didn't go to jail right away. He he was let go for a very long time, and he got a late night visit from a new probation officer, and they found some things in his house that obviously he shouldn't have had, and he admitted that, and it was wrong. Um, well, with all said and done, and all the torture that this young man has been through, he I'm trying to stay on my train of thought because we just talked about so much that day. But, he told me about, he finally got to talk to his lawyer last night, and they talked for about 2 hours. Now, this man has already signed a plea agreement, and I've read through his plea agreement extensively, and it's absolutely horrible. And the way his lawyer put it to him was that you either sign the plea agreement or you go to trial, and they will give you the max. Um, and he didn't want to take that chance. He was afraid, and he signed that plea agreement. Well, after talking to his lawyer last night for over 2 hours, his lawyer, first words out of his mouth is, "You shouldn't be there. This is wrong what they're doing to you. You did nothing wrong." And his lawyer said to him, "I just watched the videos." He said, "Excuse me?" He said,
Wow.
"I just watched your videos today." He said, "Listen, I already signed a plea agreement. What are you telling me? You never watched the videos." He says, "I didn't have those videos until just recently, till after the plea agreement was already signed." He said, "There is no reason you should be in this jail." Well, he can't back out on his plea agreement, and his court date is February 3rd. Um, the least he could get is 30 months. The most he could get is 300 months. Um, he told me today that they're looking at possibly 36 months is what he thinks the judge will give him. And you know, he's just heartbroken. He feels like this country that he loved and he took an oath to has just let him down, and are plotting against him, and he wants nothing more to fight for this country, and he will continue to stand up for this country that has persecuted him. Megs, the thing that I got most, the two things that I got most out of our visit today was the thing that Bart is in most fear of is the fact that he may never see his dog again. Um, he had two support dogs for his PTSD. One of them passed away shortly after he went to jail, and his sister gave the other one away. His sister told him he'd probably never see that dog again. She knows where he's at. The Bart knows where the dog's at, but he's not sure that he'll ever see that dog again. Bart's biggest fear when he gets out of prison is that he has nowhere to go. He has no home. He
Mm.
has belongings. He doesn't have his beloved pet. He doesn't have a home. He said, I'm supposed to go live with my sister, but his sister and her husband, they just don't see eye to eye with Bart. And he's afraid. He has to start his life all over again. And he doesn't know where that start is. He doesn't know where his home will be. He doesn't know who he'll have in his corner, because to this point, everyone in his family's turned their back on him. The VA has turned their back on him, and our country has turned their back on him. The one thing I made sure that I told Bart is that everyone that stands on that corner and everyone that watches those live streams are now his family. And that man will never be homeless. As long as I'm breathing my breath, I will make sure that man's never homeless. You know, we have a patriot that follows us, Teresa from Tennessee. Teresa's been writing to Bart, and I talked to him about a letter that he wrote to her, that she wrote to him. And she told Bart, Bart, when you get out, you have a home. My home is your home,
It's
and that
awesome.
door will always be open for you. The man's, he's just so afraid that he has nowhere to go, that he has no family. He has to start over, and he's not sure where that start is. But I let him know that, you know, everybody that watches our live streams and gets the word out, they will make sure that he has what he needs. You know, Randy has provided all of our J6ers with so many avenues that when they get out, they will get the help that they need. They will get guidance into places to live, and places to get jobs, and ways to start over, and financial help if they need it. And we could never thank Randy and Mickey enough for what they do for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, you know, I think the most important message that Bart wanted to get out to everyone through me was that everyone that stands on that corner and everyone that shares his story, that he is so grateful that he has us and all the patriots of America that share his story to be his voice that our country has tried to silence, that he could never express his gratitude and his love for each and every one out there that is sharing their stories and being the voice for them. And he definitely wanted to make sure that I got that out there and let everybody know how much he loves you and how much he appreciates you for everything that we're doing for him and for all of the J6ers. He just, that was a moment that we truly cried together.
Oh, I don't know what to say. That's awesome. Like, I wonder how long that he was waiting for a moment like that. You know, for some, you know. How often are they allowed to have visitors?
I'm not absolutely positive on that. I don't have a lot of the details. I believe it's going, right now, it's going to be once a week on Fridays. And, you know, if Bart doesn't get any visitors, family visitors, or other people, patriots that want to visit him, I will continue to visit him. I also hope that I have an opportunity to visit, you know, with some of the others face to face.
Mm,
But if Bart doesn't have anyone that comes to visit him, I'll be there for him. Absolutely.
I know you will. You already have been.
I'll do my best. You
Oh,
know, Bart, you know, I tried to express to him how much of a hero he really is. And he said, you know, I sure don't feel like a hero. I said, Bart, you, you stood up that day. You were there. It is because of you that brought me and so many other patriots to open our eyes and see what's happening to you and to our country, and that we're not alone in the way we feel. I said, brother, if it wasn't for you, we'd still probably be sitting on our couches watching our country go to hell. But you took that stand. You led the way, and we're right here beside you. You are a hero in our eyes, in America's eyes, and you always will be. And as long as you know that you are on God's path, that God chose you for this greater mission, you can't go wrong, and no harm could ever come to you, because this is just the beginning. It can only get better from here, and you guys are our leaders.
Yeah, it can. They have a I heard Randy the other night talking about there was a I forget who the guy was that was at the rally, but he was talking about how they have a service where they if they get out of jail, he'll help them find a job and he'll help them do this and help them do that and stuff. And I imagine they're going to be a lot of people out there that are going to want to help um, those prisoners, political prisoners, when they get out.
I certainly hope so. You know, we've had so many beautiful patriots step up already. Um, this is just the beginning of the road. You know, these guys have a long road ahead of them. Huge, huge financial burden ahead of them. And we just pray that, you know, more patriots will stand up and stand beside them and help them wherever they can, because they really do need our help.
Mm. Thank you for all you do. You've been there for so long. Um, it's awesome. It's awesome that people are out there to help you.
It can't be more beautiful than that.
It's crazy how things just seem to fall into place sometimes, isn't it? It's almost as if they were
Yeah.
divinely inspired.
God provides, and this is evidence.
Right. Right. He doesn't always give you what you want, but he sure always does give us what we need. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you, I had so many people on the live streams and even texting me and calling me. Sherri, please, please give Bart a hug for me. Tell him how much I love him and that we stand beside him. And I'll tell you what, Megs, when I gave that man a hug, I don't think he expected me to hug him the way I did, because I just couldn't let him go. And I held him so tight, and I wanted to make sure he felt the love of all the patriots that it was coming from. And I was so honored to be able to do that for so many people, um, including myself, because it was amazing. It was truly amazing. Will always be a hero in my eyes.
That's awesome. That's so great. You're making history. You guys are all going to make history. So you got future congressmen and senators in there to go clean out the swamp maybe one day, huh?
Exactly. Let's hope that gets done.
You know,
Yes. All we
baptized
can
in the
do is
fire.
what we can do, right?
Mm-hmm. They got baptized in the fire.
Amen. Said, you guys, you guys are considered the front line of this battle, this war. I said, when I was in Desert Storm, they didn't consider me front line, although I could see our infantry guys who were front line. We were front line support. And I said, and that's exactly what we are for you guys. You are the front line. We are frontline support. And you can guarantee we're here for you.
Mm. I can't imagine how they felt after just having just human contact with someone who's not wearing a uniform or whatever. How uplifting that must have been, to a lot of them. That must have been great. It must have
I'll
been
tell
great.
you what, Megs, when they opened that door and those guys started walking towards us, it was just like their eyes were as wide as could be, and they're looking at all of us and looking for the person that they were going to visit. And it was just the shock on their faces. And oh, it was just so beautiful.
Uh,
So beautiful. Oh my goodness. I am so blessed and I'm still so hyped up I can't hardly relax, but I suppose I'll be that way for a few days anyway.
Right. That's
So,
that's awesome that you got to do. You got to go in there. It's a shame you couldn't record it, but
yeah,
then you're not really living the moment then either. So
that's true. Recording it, it takes you away from that personal space with them, that personal connection with them. And it was absolutely amazing. That's the only thing I can say to describe it. It was absolutely amazing.
how can people support you?
They can support me at www.givesendgo/Sapphire Patriot.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thanks so much for coming on. This is great. I'm so glad you did.
Absolutely, Megs. God bless you, brother. I love you.
I love you too. I'll see you soon.
Thank
I'll see you
you
soon.
bet.
Be
Thanks
safe
for
tonight.
having me on.
Oh, thanks for being on. I'll let you know
Absolutely
whenever I publish it and stuff.
beautiful.
All right.
You have a great night, honey.
Yeah, you too. Be safe. I love you.
Bet. Bye, hon.